All right, welcome to the Week 1 Forum. These 15 or 16 weekly forums after this week account for about a quarter of your overall grade, 15 points at a time. So I want to make sure that you guys understand that you need to show up consistently in order to get a good grade on these assignments. The forums are effectively week-long virtual classrooms. The assumption is that if students read the material and make an initial statement demonstrating their engagement with the material, and then take a few minutes each day to read and comment on one another's observations, we can actually approximate what happens in a traditional classroom. And like a traditional classroom, students will get out of the forums in direct proportion to their level of investment. So if you work hard, you're far more likely to learn more. The formula for succeeding in these forums is 1, 4, 4. Okay, so you need to make one initial summary post no later than midnight of the Tuesday of the relevant forum. That means you need to have at least skimmed the assigned readings by that point, and then make a summary post, which can refer to a number of different approaches: an abbreviated summary of the whole chapter and any supplementary readings, a statement, again at least kind of 75 words of the most important piece of information in the assigned readings. And again, another way to do it would be to talk about the most difficult to understand aspect of the assigned readings. Questions are always a good way to get your initial statement out of the way too. Asking questions about what you are having trouble understanding, or anything like that, is a good way to do that initial statement. The second aspect of the 1-4-4 formula or ratio is that students need to make at least 4 replied posts over the course of the week. Your replies need to be substantive, which means if your 45-word statement is variant on the statement, "Oh, I totally agree with you, what a great statement," or "I never thought of it that way." The thing that kind of unites those kinds of comments is that they're content free and they don't really demonstrate engagement with the assigned material. You need to take some time, and I don't just want to see summaries either. A comment on, "Oh, you said this so well," and then say what the person wrote, and that's not good enough. Okay, I'm fine with you engaging in mutual sycophancy, but there needs to be an additional content that addresses the course material in a meaningful way, and that is not merely repeating what someone else has already written. So if I see a lot of that, I'm going to start making kind of person-to-person comments. "This is a little fluffy. I'm not really happy with this," and that's your warning that you need to engage. The last part of the 1-4-4 formula is that your replies need to be dispersed over a majority of the days of the week. There are 7 days in a week, and that means you need to make posts on at least 4 of the 7 days. So in order for the forums to work the way they intended, students need to monitor the forums routinely over the course of the week. And the best way to ensure that students are routinely checking in, even just for 2 or 3 minutes, is for me to look at your posting dates, which are going to tell me what I need to know about your commitment and the degree to which you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Every time you log into the course site, it's going to take you first to the at a glance section, and that will tell you if anyone's posted anything new, so you can check in. If someone's posted something, read it, and that will give you an opportunity to engage. This requirement is designed to prevent what I call fade outs, where some students, I want to get it all knocked out by Tuesday, so you do your initial post, and then you make like 4 statement posts, and then, "Oh, I'm done for the week." I don't want to see that. Okay, I want you to engage over the course of the week. I also don't want to see what I call our parachute drops, where someone just comes in on Sunday and makes a bunch of comments. You're not engaging in a conversation when you pop in towards the last bit of it and then just tack on a bunch of questions. Okay. Again, I want students to be checking in on the forum on a day-to-day basis and participate in real time over the course of the week. Now, if anyone has a practical reason why they can't make posts over the course of the weekday or on the weekend, then you need to let me know and petition me and explain the nature of your problem, and I'll consider waiving the requirement. But as a class, you all have to do kind of the same thing the same way. So let's jump into the assigned material for this week. starting with a simple question. Why would citizens of any country be inclined to adopt a federal system of government as opposed to a unitary system of government? Why, in particular, did the American states end up adopting a federal system of government, kind of creating a federal system of government? One feature of American federalism that ought to kind of leap off the page are the sheer number of local governments. There is one federal government, and then there are 50 state governments, and then roughly 89,000 local governments, varying from county governments, townships, municipal governments, and then various schools and special districts. Why so many governments? Are the proliferation of local governments symptomatic of federalism? Or is it a broader reflection of the unique nature of the way federalism has evolved in the United States? Another good question that Robertson talks about is, in this initial chapter, why do so many political conflicts appear to revolve around federalism in the United States? The most obvious response is that so many of the fights in American government are fights over federalism because the stakes are enormously high. He then goes on to evaluate several of the claims related to, the value of federalism. One advantage is it limits the power of the national government. The second is it promotes democracy through state sovereignty. The third is it's a more efficient system of government. A fourth is it's more innovative, the idea that states can act as laboratories of democracy. And the fifth is that federalism fragments political power and thereby promotes democracy. When you read these chapters, what I think you'll find is that each of these claims is partially true, but not entirely, right? There are, in crucial ways, federalism can also work a great deal of mischief. Because human beings are flawed, their creations are likewise flawed. Federalism may be, as Winston Churchill stated with regard to democracy, that it's the worst system except for every other system that's been from time to time tried. My point is not to launch a Jeremiad against federalism and advocate for a completely new system of government, but rather to call attention to the difficulties inherent related to sustaining a federal system of government, especially one where the Constitution seems to demand this idea of balance. And in pointing to the weaknesses, what can we think about in terms of reforms that might ameliorate the worst defects of our federal system? Another aspect of this course and to this chapter is the idea of intergovernmental relations, which basically highlights the fact that federalism is not clearly articulated in the Constitution. Rather, there are constitutional principles that establish the rough and ready rules of the game governing competition for power and influence within our federal system of government. What IGR illustrates is that the relationship among the federal, state, and local governments is often fluid and improvisational. Okay, it's not a one-way thing. When you think more broadly about government, you're typically thinking about political development, right? Central to questions of political development are a couple of important questions. What is state capacity? Is the state powerful enough to do the things that its citizens want it to do? Within a federal system of government, the question arises as to the relative power of the national versus the state governments. There's also the question of how a government's operations impact the composition of society, the allocation of wealth, the distribution of power in a nation. These are the sorts of issues that really kind of form the core of this course. I'll close with two final questions. Robertson notes that federalism has been employed rather pragmatically throughout American history as both a sword and shield. How can federalism be used to advance policy? How can federalism be used, alternatively, to erect obstacles to the enactment of policy? We've seen many examples of this in contemporary America. Can you think of any examples of the offensive and defensive deployment of federalism in the political battles over policy that we're witnessing today? Finally, Robertson observes the power of what he calls and what political scientists call path dependence in politics. Right? Decisions once reached condition future decisions. Every time you open a door, other doors are closing behind you. Right? This is an important insight. What are the political implications of path dependence in a federal system of government? All right, let's have a great week.